Hi, my name is Heidi Folds, and today is December 7th, 2025. I'm here today to present my interpersonal communication plan for HSCO 508. I will explain my behavior blend, the communication barriers identified throughout the course, my communication goal, the strategies I will use to reach that goal, and my plan for implementing healthier communicating long term. To begin, interpersonal communication refers to the way we exchange meaning through verbal and nonverbal messages. It involves not only words, but tone, posture, emotions, listening, and the pattern we bring from our personal history. Peterson 2022 highlights how emotional overload can disrupt communication. When emotions rise and our brain goes flat, it becomes almost impossible to think clearly, listen, or respond effectively. Schultz and Badinsky remind us that communication is shaped by identity patterns and the stories we tell ourselves, which can influence how we interpret and react to others. With that foundation, I want to start by explaining my behavior blend and how it shapes my communication style. According to my Uniquely You profile, my public behavior is an S, which stands for steadiness. This means that in public settings, I tend to present as calm, gentle, reliable, and harmony oriented. I prefer peaceful interactions, I avoid conflict, and I naturally prioritize making others feel comfortable. These traits are strengths that make me approachable and supportive, but they also contribute to communication challenges for me. Because I want harmony, I often silence my own needs, avoid confrontation, and slip into people pleasing. Privately, my S shifts to a CIS, conscientious, influence, and steadiness. My C side makes me very reflective, detail oriented, and analytical. I think a lot before I speak, and I want to get things right. My I side means I'm expressive, intuitive internally, and even if others don't always see that, my S side means I value emotional safety, stability, and loyalty. Together, this creates a communication identity that is deeply empathetic and thoughtful, but also prone to overthinking, second guessing myself, and avoiding difficult conversations to keep the peace. This blend explains why I connect deeply with others, but often struggle with assertiveness and boundaries. Next, I want to share the main communication barriers identified throughout the course. The first barrier is people pleasing and fawning. Because of my S style and my trauma history, I tend to adapt myself to keep others comfortable. I often avoid expressing my true feelings because I worry about disappointing someone or creating conflict. The second barrier is fixing instead of listening. Peterson discusses how easy it is to fall into the trap of trying to solve problems for others instead of truly listening. I often jump into helper mode, which prevents deeper understanding and keeps communication on a surface level. The third barrier is conflict avoidance. Conflict triggers a nervous system response in me that feels threatening. Instead of communicating honestly, I may shut down, withdraw, or over explain to avoid discomfort. The fourth barrier is emotional overload, which connects directly to Peterson's flat brain theory. When my emotions rise too quickly, my ability to communicate clearly collapses. I either overshare impulsively or freeze entirely. The fifth barrier involves communication style and emotional safety. A recent Scarlet article by Rugunzi, Patterson, and Ngo in 2022 found that dominant or controlling communication styles increase anxiety and reduce psychological comfort, while warm, affiliative, and attentive communication increases emotional safety and satisfaction. Their research helped me understand why harsh or authoritative communication shuts me down, while relational warmth helps me stay regulated. A final barrier comes from Mordino's 2024 article on the limits of thinking during communication. He explains that people operate with limited cognitive capacity, and under stress, they default into narrow emotional thinking that distorts communication. This helped me understand why, under pressure, my communication becomes reactive or overly cautious. Together, these barriers made it clear that I needed a focused communication goal. My communication goal is to practice confident, assertive communication that is grounded in emotional regulation and active listening. The goal is important because it supports healthier relationships and strengthens my future work in trauma informed human services. Assertive and emotionally regulated communication is essential for creating safety, building trust, and supporting others effectively. To reach this goal, I will implement several evidence-based strategies. The first strategy comes from Peterson's flat brain theory. When I feel overwhelmed, I will pause before responding. Take a brief moment for emotional regulation will help me move from reactivity back into clarity. The second strategy is to practice active listening. This includes reflecting back what I hear from others, summarizing their feelings, asking open-ended questions, and resisting the urge to jump into problem solving. Schultz and Badzinski emphasize that real understanding requires mindful listening rather than reacting from identity patterns. The third strategy is to develop assertive communication skills. This means using I statements, expressing needs directly, setting boundaries without apology, and tolerating the discomfort that comes from honest communication with others. The fourth strategy is nervous system regulation. Before entering a difficult conversation, I will use grounding techniques, slow breathing, and sensory regulation. These skills help me stay present and prevent my nervous system from sliding into fawn or freeze response. The fifth strategy is integrating the scholar research. The article by Rungunzi and colleagues showed that affiliative communication, warmth, attentiveness, friendliness creates psychological comfort and reduces anxiety. And Rodino's work on hyperlateral thinking showed that expanding cognitive awareness reduces defensive communication. These findings support my commitment to communication with warmth, clarity, and intentional awareness. Now I will explain my implementation plan, the concrete steps I will take to apply these strategies in my life. Step 1, I will pause before responding in conversations that feel emotionally charged. These simple 3-second pause will help regulate my nervous system. Step 2, I will intentionally practice reflective listening multiple times per week, summarizing what others say before sharing my perspective. Step 3, I will keep a weekly journal of my communication patterns, noting moments of growth in areas where I reverted to people-pleasing or avoidance. Step 4, I will practice assertive communication scripts such as I feel blank when blank, I need blank going forward. Step 5, I will check in monthly with a trusted friend or mentor for accountability and feedback. Step 6, I will practice boundaries consistently, reminding myself that saying no is healthy and necessary for authentic communication. To evaluate my progress, I will look for improvements in emotional regulation during conflict, increased ability to express needs, less fawning, more balanced conversation and feedback from people I trust. I will also pay attention to my internal sense of confidence, safety, and clarity. In conclusion, this communication plan has helped me better understand my behavior blend, identify my communication barriers, and develop a practical goal with actionable strategies to improve my interpersonal communication with others. By integrating insights from Peterson, Schultz and Badzinski, Rodino, and Rungunzi and colleagues, amongst other material, I am building a communication style that is more confident, grounded, and emotionally regulated. With that, I will close with a quote from Peterson: "Understanding begins when listening begins." Thank you.